Hey, my name is Robert Sanders. I'm a student pilot here at Lookup Flight Academy from Pensacola, Florida. I was introduced into aviation at a very young age by my father. He was actually encouraged by my grandfather. My grandfather was an aircraft mechanic. He was a paratrooper, and he also got his private pilot's license. So he kind of shared that passion with my father, who then shared it with me once I became older. One Christmas, he got me an RC airplane. It was called like a slow stick or something like that. And it literally just consisted of a stick, some wings, and it had a functioning elevator and rudder. And it was up from there. We would take it up, crash it, rebuild it, make it better. And also I went to a lot of aviation camps as a child. Chappie James Flight Academy, one of them in Pensacola, Florida. NAS program back in Pensacola as well. It's always been a thing in my life. When I was a kid, I grew up playing flight simulators, old warbirds. Very much has always been there for me. So I decided after the first aviation camp I went to, which was at Chappie James Flight Academy out in Pensacola, after I took my first flight, I knew that's what I wanted to do in my life. I didn't want to sit behind a desk. So in high school, I was deeply engrossed in aviation. I was even in a aerospace engineering career academy back at my high school. But between high school and college, that's where I got caught up in the college rat race, thinking that I had to succeed in college to be successful. So I first attempted to major in engineering. Right after high school, didn't really know what I was doing. Ended up leaving there, and I continued to get my associate's degree from community college, which was a good move. And after that, I thought I wanted to fly jets. So I was like, I'm gonna go to college, get a degree, then I'm gonna enlist, or I'm gonna go to officer training school and hopefully get into some jets from there. But college was beating me up so bad, I just dropped out and was like, I'm going to fly school, straight into it. I started making my money on the beach, saving up all my tips and stuff, and was paying for flight school after my third attempt at college. And yeah, that's how I got into aviation, for myself at least. My first flight school I went to, it was after a long, hot summer on the beach. I had all my money saved up, and I went to learn at this uncontrolled airfield back at home. It was a pretty good starting process. The instructor, he was pretty cool. It was split up between a ground portion and an air portion, just so you get a good mixture of knowledge to practical, stuff in the airplane, like maneuvers and whatever. But it was really expensive. Eventually ran out of money. Decided to check out the next flight school. It was at a Delta airspace back in Pensacola, and it was actually called Pensacola Air. I love that school. That's where I learned a lot. But it was really interesting going from a classroom setting, necessarily not doing everything that I wanted to do, just trying to make it with a good grade, to actually going into something that I was interested in, that I wanted to succeed in. It was a very interesting time in my life, and I had a lot of people supporting me. Having a strong support system was awesome, because the times where you might be discouraged or you might run into a brick wall in terms of knowledge, or you always got someone there telling you that you can do it and they're proud of you. My dad, he's always been strongly supportive of me pursuing aviation. He always wants to hear about how my lessons been or how I'm progressing in the knowledge part. Always asking questions and wanting to see if I've taken any new pictures or anything like that. Where I worked at, I literally sat on the beach and dealt with guests all day long, and they were extremely supportive. They would see me out there studying. They would always ask when they come back, how's it going? Have you did this yet? Have you soloed? Have you taken your written? And it's just extremely encouraging to have people, riding your phone, checking up on you, making sure that you're still, applying elbow grease. And it's not always just your family, because a lot of people want to, genuinely want to see good people do good. So having a support system means a lot. Family, my sister, my dad, my grandma, even my mom. So my number one frustration comes down to things that you cannot necessarily handle, like weather. Biggest example is weather. Some weeks, if you got a bad weather coming through, you might not be able to fly about 2 times out of the week. You're lucky you have one. Like this week, I've flown 1 day out this week. So that's one of the things that can be frustrating, especially when you're nearing the end and you're ready to take your check ride, you're ready to do this and that and move on to the next thing. That can be the biggest frustration. Maintenance is also, can be a big thing, but we've got enough airplanes now, but earlier, there's a time where the weather was bad and one of the planes was down for maintenance the whole month. And it's what can you do about that? So a lot of things, basically, they just test your patience. I was talking to my roommate a couple days ago, and it's like, you know what, this week, this weather is really just testing our patience. And you know, that's just all we can do is be patient. Now, switching over from the old classic airplanes to these, yeah, it's a lot more light than what I was used to. But at the end of the day, it's a really tight airplane. So I did have some times where I was frustrated trying to figure out, like, basically one of my biggest things was anticipating the flare too early on an approach. That was one of my biggest frustrations. But you know, after a couple of weeks of practice or just a couple of lessons, you know, it was water under the bridge. But yeah, I'd like to say my biggest frustration just comes down to the things that I cannot control. So as of now, I'm working on staying on top of my knowledge, while as, you know, we might get held up for weather. You know, it's important at this stage to, you know, stay knowledgeable and be ready for that practical and oral exam. But yeah, that's just where I am. I'm at the threshold, you know, kind of in between working on maneuvers, making sure my maneuvers are pristine, and making sure I hit that book just at least a little bit out the day. I've already done my written, I've done a stage check, you know, so right now it's just staying proficient and getting a hold of that check ride. Ultimately, I've got all my requirements. In my future, I think it's inevitable, you know, that I will be a captain one day. That's what I'm shooting for. And if I keep on, you know, walking in this direction, then it's inevitable for me to be a captain one day, either cargo or passengers. There's no telling, but I just want to fly something big and fast and make some good money and, you know, pursue my passion to the furthest extent. You know, that's basically it.